Okay. So today I'm here with Jessica Caraway, who's a member of the K-State cross country and track team. Thanks for doing this, Jess.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so just kind of the first thing I'm going to ask you, just tell us a little bit about your background in sports, particularly track and cross country, and kind of how you got to this point where you can compete at a D1 school in college.
I started off in soccer and did that for a lot of my elementary school, middle school years. And then in middle school, I was really interested in running and was so excited to be on the track team in seventh grade. And that was kind of my first year getting into running. And then I kind of kept at it throughout middle school and high school. I had the opportunity of having a really awesome high school team and coach, and they really made track more of like um, a future thing and more of something that I could like pursue and be really good at and make a lot of goals and be like really passionate about it instead of just it being kind of like a side activity. And yeah, and so then throughout high school, I got really into it and pursued a lot of goals, practiced really hard, and then I had the opportunity of competing in college. And so I kind of explored what that would look like. Reached out to a couple colleges and ended up at K State. And yeah, so far I've been here for a little over a semester, and it's been fun to pursue goals and start racing again. So, yeah.
Yeah, I bet that sounds like a really great experience overall. Can you tell us more a little bit about the recruiting process? I mean, I don't know if there's any rules on like what you can and can't say about that, but I think just if anybody is looking to do a sport, specifically track or cross country in college, it might be helpful for them to know what to expect going into the recruitment process.
Yeah. So I actually wasn't 100% sure like if I wanted to do track in college when I first started looking at colleges. And I guess I would say if anyone's in the same boat, just to reach out to coaches, to colleges you're interested in, kind of I looked at their Instagrams, their website, kind of to just get a feel for what the team was like. And then I sent a lot of coaches to email or a lot of emails to coaches whose schools I was interested in. And don't be afraid to like ask them questions about the team, what it's like to be an athlete, just anything you're kind of wondering about. That's what I did. And then after getting responses from coaches, usually you can set up times to call and talk to them about their team and kind of what they're thinking for you and for like the next year, the upcoming season. And then after you get in touch with coaches through call, you usually go on a visit. Um, you can do unofficial and then also official visits. And that really helps you get to know the team more and if you'd be a good fit and kind of helps you decide like what you're looking for in a team. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then so obviously college athletics are going to be pretty different than in high school. It's just going to look different and practices are going to be new and there's going to be new changes. What differences kind of surprised you? Like what did you not really expect going into college? And it could be good or bad differences.
Um, I would say that I, so going into college, I knew that like athletics were going to be a big part of it. But I didn't know that it was like how big of a part it was going to play in college. Maybe because right now it's during COVID and I'm not really going to school as much as I normally would, but most of my time is spent either at practice, if it's not at practice, like making sure I'm eating well or preparing for practice by like stretching and rolling, getting enough sleep. So I guess I wasn't really prepared for like the extent of like how much athletics becomes like a lifestyle when you go to college. But that being said, you're also a college student, not just an athlete. So there's kind of that side of it too. And it's not only athletics, but um, yeah, trying to think of anything else that surprised me. I think also just how close, like, of a relationships you'll make with the people around you and your team and your coach because you're around them so often. So that's kind of a good surprise. Is just like you kind of have built-in friends and people that you can rely on throughout your time.
Yeah, no, definitely that would really be a plus. I mean, just going into college, having that group of people from day one, that would be, I know, a really big help for a lot of people. Um, so how does like your typical week look with your practices? Like how often do you practice? What does the structure look like? Just, I mean, because we know it's a very big commitment, but just kind of how big is it?
Yeah. It kind of depends on the season. For example, for cross country season, we had two practices a day for most days of the week. And so we'd wake up at, say, like 6, and then we'd have to be there for practice at like 6:45, get started at 7. So that'd be our first practice. And then we would also do another practice in the afternoon at 3:30. That would take about like an hour and a half. Um, and we practice mostly 7 days a week. Sometimes we'll get a rest day off, so we'll get like Sunday off. Um, Usually, if we do practice on Sunday, we can go on our own. So the coach isn't really allowed to be with us on Sunday because technically we're supposed to have that day off according to like NCAA rules and everything. But yeah, we'll still practice then. But then for track season, it's just once a day. And kind of since track is not as much mileage, sometimes we'll get more days off. And during meet season, we'll have meets on the weekends. So we'll usually have like a workout or a couple workouts during the week, say like Monday and Wednesday. And then we'll have some long runs throughout the other days of the week. And then we'll have our race on Friday or Saturday. Um, so yeah, and that's kind of just the rotation throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously with putting in so much work, I mean, you're gonna have some goals and some challenges. And so I know you've had what, like 3 meets so far this season? So with that, like what are some achievements you've had within those meets? And then what are some goals you have for the season, as well as some challenges that you weren't expecting?
I would say it's just being able to compete like for the first time in a long while was an achievement and a fun thing to get back into racing. I ran the 600 meters for the first time, and so just kind of figuring that out was a little bit of an achievement, I guess. And I would say some goals I have are just to kind of figure out how to be competitive in racing and to take reins more a little bit in the race and attack and have it be more competitive and have more of a race strategy. Um, some challenges I've had are definitely just making sure that I'm keeping my body ready for races. I've noticed this like throughout my team too. A lot of us have experienced injuries, and it's really hard to manage those and continue to train in the right way without overdoing it. So I would say that's a big challenge in just figuring out like um, where, how far your body can go and when it needs to rest and when you need to push it more. Um, so yeah, I would say those are some challenges.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I mean, there's just a lot you have to take into consideration going into races. And I think it's really cool that you're getting to try some new events this year. And because you typically run like 400s and 800s, right? Like those were your biggest ones. So
Yes.
it's pretty cool. I mean, that sounds hard to me, but I bet you killed it. Um, Okay, so obviously, like along with those challenges, there's the whole pandemic going on in COVID-19. How has that, I know you're a freshman, so you don't know what a typical season would look like, but kind of how has that played a role so far this year, like in your practices and your meets? Like how has that kind of brought up some new challenges or changes or different like protocols and stuff?
Well, things have been a lot different, I would say, than usual. Um, I guess first of all, at meets, we are not allowed to have spectators for indoor just because there's not enough space to have it be safe for spectators to watch. And so that's been a lot different. Something to get used to is when you're running and you don't have that hype and like the cheering from the crowd. Um, so that's been one thing. Overall, like meets have just been a lot smaller. There haven't been as many teams as usual, and we've kind of had to deal with a smaller um, roster for who's racing each meet. Um, and then also just wearing masks all the time. We are supposed to wear masks all throughout the meet until the moment we race, which has been something that we just have to get used to. Um, and then it's been a little bit harder with COVID to kind of get to know people on the team. I know a lot of people within the distance segment, but because usually, like at the dining center, we'll be able to get to know other athletes, get to know other track and field athletes, because the dining center is usually a place where you come and like meet everyone. But because of COVID, we've been taking our meals out and eating them at home. So it's just been a little bit harder to get to know people and make those relationships because you're not seeing them as much. Um, so yeah, I think those would be the big things.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, COVID has put a lot of people's athletic seasons up in the air. Like a lot of people didn't know if they'd have one. So it looks like you guys are well on your way for the 2021 season. Like, what's the plan? Does it look differently than in past years, or is it pretty similar to a normal track season?
I would say it's pretty similar as in like the number of meets that we're going to so far. Um, the main difference, like I said, is like not having spectators in the indoor meets, having it be more like live stream for watching. But I think that we'll be able to have spectators at outdoor meets, which will be nice. Um, yeah, I think just taking the same COVID precautions that we've been taking. But other than that, I think it's going to look, we'll be pretty lucky to continue to race um, all the big meets and um, some ones in between too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really happy that you guys have a season planned. I mean, I'm I know everything is so inconsistent with COVID, but it's really nice that you guys have a schedule and you have a plan and it looks fairly normal. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So in the few months you've been at college as a freshman and you've been experiencing the world of college athletics, what has been your favorite memory or story so far? I mean, it can be related to athletics, it can just be college in general, but just something that stands out to you from the past couple months.
Hmm. Um, okay, I know I've talked about relationships on the team a lot, but I would just say like spending time together outside of practice. Um, we've had lots of little like get-togethers with like the girls' distance team. We had a movie night last or a couple of nights ago. So just like the little team bonding things, I think those would be my favorite memory. Just relationship building for sure. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I remember like when I was in sports, team bonding was just the best. It was so much fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know those will help you guys in the long run too. Just I feel like team bonding is somehow connected to performance as well. So there's just so many benefits of that. Well, that's all I have for you. Do you have anything else to add? It can honestly be about anything, just that you think is important.
Um, I would say that if you're considering being an athlete, um, don't be afraid of kind of checking it out a little bit more. And it's a commitment, but it's a fun one, and it's a good way to get involved in college and pursue your passions. And yeah, thanks for having me and interviewing me. It was fun talking with you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for doing this.
No problem.
All right, well, see you later.
See ya.